All right. Welcome to Feisty Chess. We're playing Bowlet, one of the two, on leechess.org. We've got black, and I'm waiting for Bowlet to move. All right, d4. I've been once again excited about the Benoni lately. This can still work if I go for c5 here. d4 openings have lots of transpositions, so all right, we might just get a symmetrical Teresh as well. That's why it's great. I think good to know the Teresh. Okay, I'm threatening. Wow, okay, we're doing some kind of a Colle system here. Let me plant my knight on e4 before he gets knight d2 in. I can play f5 to support it. Here we go. So we can't take with the knight or he gets forked. Okay, so we've got some kind of stonewall defense here. But I think it's better for black because white has played this Colle system, this somewhat passive triangle here. Okay, he'll have a pawn on e5. He'll be able to kick my knight though. Let's go after that pawn. Well, hold on. How do I want to do this? I can play queen c7. I've been playing a lot of blitz, so I got to slow down here. Okay, queen c7. But then he has knight f3 to protect. I got c4 immediately. I have f4 also. No, I don't quite have f4. I should get castled before I do anything else. There's a lot of choices here. Maybe I should just go bishop to e7. Let's do that. Bishop to e7. Play sensibly. You're going to get castled. I don't think white should be able to attack on my king side. I think this e5 pawn is not too much of a problem since black has... Since I've already got f5 in. Okay. So now I have a choice. I can either go back to g5 or I can take that knight. I have a lot more... Do I have more space than white? Are exchanges good for me? I sort of want a tempo if I take and then play queen c7 and he has to play f4. But is that meaningful? Probably not with the center closed. If I go back to g5, he could get f4 in anyway, and I can come right back, and I have a perma-knight, unless he wants to take. He could also kick me with h4, then knight f7 is forced, and then I'm hitting h4, and I'm also hitting e5. Okay, that looks good. If he wants to dislodge my knight here, he's got to play f4. I think I do have more space. You know, he's got that one pawn in my camp, but I've got a nice pawn center. White's probably considering f4. I don't see much else for white to really get going. This reminds me of a line in the two knights defense. Okay, he's... Well, if he wants to trade these bishops, I am quite happy to do that. If he's going to play queen a5 now, yeah, I'll just encourage things here. I can't castle. But we can just go for queen trades. Castling won't be important here. My bishop is way better, thanks to the center pawns. My knight looks a lot better too, so I'm happy with this middle game, this queenless middle game. My rooks are connected. Okay. I can leave him with doubled, isolated pawns. Which file do I want to open up? My king file or his rook's file? Okay, once that F file opens up, I have to be careful not to hit my knight trapped, because F7 will be covered, and after H4, say like I take, he takes, and then I take. It's complicated. I have E3 there. But in some lines, you know, I just need to be careful of that. I could also just let him undouble his pawns. Frees up my game some. He takes either pawn, I recapture, it's the same. In the first place, I can get a rook developing move in. Big decision. This is a critical moment here. It's okay to spend some time. I could also go knight F7. Hitting that E pawn. F4 also works, just keeping his pieces shut in. Oh, I like F4. His knight doesn't really have many good places to go. And that hems his bishop in. I guess he can get away with like a G3 at some point. That might make his E5 pawn weak. I'm going to try F4 without thinking too much longer. And I'm sort of threatening D4 here, which I think would positionally, well, no, it wouldn't work just yet. Okay. Now my knight will have a nice home on E6, a very nice home. His knight doesn't have a very nice home. Yeah, there's not much of a future on B3 either. My knight is just right on E6 here. Okay. Where do my rooks want to be? Okay, lots of ways to play this. Get a rook on F8, watching that pawn. Then the rook could come to F5, threatening, and he'd have to defend with his rook. This makes sense. So rook F8 with the idea of rook F5. Could play B6 just to shut down that knight more completely. What kind of things do I need to watch out for from white here? Yeah, knight A. Knight A5. It's the only forward move he has with his knight, so let's just restrict him. This also overprotects B6. And I can go king c6. That's key, because I want to be able to go king c6 to defend that pawn. So yeah, I like king c6. Now I think we can just overprotect this pawn. Yeah, I got to imagine the computer would really like this position. Let's get all of our pieces working. Now we can't play g3 because I would win a pawn on f3. Okay, the knight's looking for greener pastures there, but can I now just go d4? Sorry, c4? The knight wants to come to d3, or maybe, I mean, d3 or e2, either one works. I honestly just trade off the pieces and I will win that e-pawn, right? Yeah, let's restrict. This opens up the squares for my pieces too. So I can play maybe knight c5. Okay, and then I think after g5 here, protecting this another time, I have this mobility, this knight g6, knight c5. White's moving very fast. Okay, didn't see this idea. I think allowing him to capture with the c-pawn would really free his game up. So I'm going to make him, yeah, take my knight. I still got a much better bishop. Okay, he's moving very fast. Man, my knight's coming to d3. If he goes d3 check or d6 check at some point, I can just go king e6, and the knight doesn't have checks. King d6, I'm sorry. So e6 check, king d6. These squares are both covered. Oh, doesn't go for that approach. All right. And I can force a trade with like bishop c5 here. And yeah, what does black do? What does white do? Bishop c5. Ooh, I have to be careful. Bishop c5, d6 check. I can't come here, and this fork is threatened. So before bishop c5, I need to maybe play a rook. Oh, okay. Good move. It's a good move. Shuts things down over here. I can't take en passant because my knight hangs. All right, let's get this rook here. We are fine with that. That is not pinned. I can't do that. But bishop here, and then yeah, okay. I could take with the knight. Do I want to take with the knight? I think so, because I like how it Hits the rook. Okay, I can take this, right? Is there any reason I can't just take this? Okay, if I don't take it, if I go here or here, he has knight f5 check. And if I take, after knight takes, rook takes, and we're, yeah, he's gonna get that pawn. I'm gonna go for that though. Just a little bit of a bailout. Oh, he's not going for this. Well, let's guard everything. I don't see any forks. All my stuff is protected. He's just moving quickly, it seems. That's the plan. It's a good plan. I got knight f4. Knight f4 looks good. I don't need to be worried about checks. Okay. Now the knight here. Yeah, everything's covered. I'd love to trade some rooks. I've won a pawn. He has a check on e5, but not a big deal. Okay. Just minor pieces left. I need to get active here. Let's preserve our pawns. Knight looks happy here. Come into e4. Or just guarding the pawn for now. Okay, e4, and now his king, knight to e4, and his king, oh, he's checking me, all right. Oh man. Let's just come back here on this light square. I still got a fork if he goes king g6, king g3. Okay, this will prevent his knight from coming either of these squares. Ah, and I've lost a pawn. Gotta keep trucking. Oh, he's guarding that pawn, all right. But how much is he guarding it? I need to make moves. Moves are good. If we trade knight for bishop here, I might be better. He needs to go bishop. If he goes knight, I just take. Okay. Can I take on c3? No, he's guarding it. So he needs to go pawn here, and I have an outside passer. Am I just winning? Am I just winning? Do I want to push this immediately? That's the question. Well, it's the most pressing thing I can do. let's yeah, let's grab the H pawn if we can. If we can get his king to come here. Yeah, it worked. Okay. Okay. Plan is to play G6, G3 as soon as I can. Okay, my knight keeps his king out of E3, which is super nice. Can my knight get to a place to protect this pawn? I'm not sure. He needs to come back into play, though. Yeah, I go to H5 and then F4. If white allows that. You're supposed to be winning with these things if you take the knights off in these knight endings, but I'm not sure that works here. Okay, let's do this. Let's just move our king up. If I get too far away from the queenside pawns with a king, it's trouble. A draw seems likely here. Got ideas of knight here, here, and that threatens this fork. I didn't want to leave these pawns unattended, so I think white was trying to swindle me, get me to bring my king way over here. He can always sacrifice his knight for it, and then my knight's probably too slow to catch these pawns on the opposite side of the board. So his knight is pretty tied down to things here. Let's do this little plan. Okay, his knight's way out of play. This might actually work. I'm hitting this pawn, and I should be able to grab both of those pawns, actually. But he's probably got a draw. But frankly, with my time situation, I can't complain too much about that. So he can't defend this pawn, but he can sack the knight for that remaining pawn. So there we go. Thank you for the game, Bolet. Let's do the analysis. Okay, black against a higher rated player. I can't be sad about a draw. Yeah, I wanted to go into the Benoni. In this case, this would have marked something we could have transposed into a Benoni. Anyway, that's not what happened. Even here, well, E3 would be a silly move to make in a Benoni, but okay. Now, did I have anything better here? Let's pull up the computer. Let's see, B6 is the main move here. D5. Move I played. A lot of transpositions going on here. Indian games, Spielman Indian. Okay, knight C6. Well, I went for knight E4. That gives white a nice advantage after knight D2. My plan was just to play F5 in that case. But yeah, violating a principle here, moving the same piece twice. Knight takes d2 and it likes black better. Yeah, his bishop is kind of stuck behind a lot of pawns. Okay, it doesn't like this plan from white at all. Yeah, it likes white a lot better now. A whole pawn. The material's equal. What is it? The that e5 pawn, is it too weak? Why not f4 here? I would play f4. That looks like it's a drawish, am I right? But it's even worse. Knight here, knight takes, d takes. Is it just about the king position? And the development? I mean, the bishop is pretty bad. The bishop is very bad. So yeah, f4 would make that bishop even worse. Okay, doesn't like this at all. Should have gone for f takes e4, according to the computer. F takes, and then, oh look, I have knight takes. I can just win a pawn. But first, I can even afford rook here. And if he takes here, do I have this intermediate check? What does this get me? It likes king take f1, and then ed, and this gets just this weak pawn. Plan is to play probably king here. I can get a rook check in, rook f5. I can grab any knight that tries to protect it. Okay, that's a simpler way to play. Simpler result anyway. I went for some complex stuff here. Still likes my position. Yeah, knight to e6. Knight is just so happy there. It likes c4 here. b6 is okay. I'm looking good. Yep, looking really good. It wanted to go rook h to f8. Oh, okay, it doesn't matter. Yeah, c4 here. Knight comes here. Now bishop c5 check. King f1, a5. a5 would shut down his queen side. Would have been a good idea to get that in. It does like knight takes d4, because the bishop is still so terrible. I mean, this pawn is no longer weak. It's actually protected past pawn. But after b5, I'm coming on the queen side, and my king position is so much better. A takes b, a takes b. I got b4 coming. Easy enough to get rooks to the a file. Yeah, this is good for black. I mean, you got the equal material, but the outside pass pawn and the better king position. Yeah, after g3, just sticking with b4. Even after g3, which looks like it loses a pawn. Let's look at this. What about rook takes, pawn takes, and then bishop takes. I'm down a pawn, but it's still better for black. King b5. Not even rook d2 here. You can't defend like this on the second rank because of the pin. You'd have to defend with rook b1, which is awfully sad looking. Maybe that's inaccurate, but it does like rook a2. Rook b1. Interesting. Yeah, I don't see the huge advantage the computer sees. The computer doesn't see it anymore either, actually. So there's some illusory advantages here. Anyway, not what happened. So maybe that wasn't the right path to take. King d7. Bishop c5. Oh, bishop c5. Right. And if I can trade knight for bishop, I've got to have a nice advantage here. Because my knight has a lot more mobility than his bishop. But I went for knight to c5. Knight e6. Oh, it doesn't even like... You get your knight to d6. Look at the and valuation goes from -7. Sorry, it goes from negative to positive. That's amazing. Right. Because now he has that. That's the point. Or e6 check and then b4. So the knight to d6 wasn't the right idea. But if I play bishop c5 with the idea of taking, here's the computer's line: bishop c5, bishop e1, take, c takes. I guess rook c8, and I just play on the queen side. My knight does look a lot better than that bishop. Although the bishop can get going here. Oh well, we play chess. I don't understand how the computer has such a large evaluation for one or the other. Some things are maybe just beyond me. Knight takes f4. It still likes white. Rook takes e6. Wow. Oh! Rook takes e6 because I'm still, if he takes with his knight, I hit his rook with check. So I have that resource. I didn't have time to see that. Let's look at that line. Rook takes e6. He's got to take with the rook. Or if he takes with the knight, then I take his rook with check. We just trade knights. And I'm guarding all my stuff, and I've won a pawn. That d6, that pawn that he checked with on e6. So that's a simpler way to go. I should be able to win that ending. If let's see, rook, not knight. Oh, yoy! A lot of blitzed out moves there. Back, back, back. Okay, e6, check. Rook takes. Now knight, if knight takes, but the right move is rook takes. But even then, same kind of result. Because that knight hasn't moved yet, and the rook is not yet attacking this pawn. And when the knight does take, same result. So instead, h4 is the plan. Knight takes d4. Really? Wouldn't we want to play h6 first? That seems a lot simpler. But then knight f5. Okay. Say we take, we give back the pawn. Is that the idea? Now why not this? a5, and he can't move his a pawn, but he can just get his king out of the diagonal. Really? Oh, bishop g7, and the rook. I mean, the rook can go here. A takes b4, and we just got these beasts over here. Okay, wow. Watch out when you use your pawns advance to the 4th rank. There are endgame tactics to be had. So anyway, that's not what happened in the game. I did win a pawn. Actually, this is knight takes e6 is probably best here, because after rook takes, there's this intermediate check. I've got to go bishop d6, and now we swap off these rooks. And white has not lost a pawn here in this line. So he missed that. Maybe just trying to complicate things since I was already in time trouble. And he's down a piece here after knight f4. Knight f4 also guards d5. I didn't see that. So knight f4 would have been great. Probably something like this. And then this. And I've got that nice extra pawn. And it's a very healthy pawn according to the computer evaluation. Okay, watch out for those backwards knight moves. Those knights on the 5th rank, those octopus knights, hitting all 8 of their squares in relevant parts of the board. This reminds me of a lot of lines in the open game where you get a knight to b4 and it counterintuitively watches over d5. So, same principle there. I'll have to remember that so I can see it quicker next time. And let's see where I lost my pawn to the bishop. That's where I feel like I'm doing well here. So the computer says I just have an extra pawn. Knight d6. Let's trade those knights. Ooh, that maybe was simpler. Yeah, that looks good. Knight d6, and if we trade the knights, we're just in a same colored bishop ending, which I should be able to win pretty easily. Because he can't get to my weak pawn over here, and I can push another pawn to a light square and make all of black's pawns go on dark squares. So that should be easy to win. So after knight d6, he can't take. For that reason, he's got knight d4 check, king d7. Now I think this looks good for him. But no, it's not apparently. It's just too much of a weak pawn. Anyway, I went here. Yeah, didn't see that simple discovery. You know, the knight's not really threatening anything. But king c6. Well, king c6 repeats. I would go b5. Oh, the problem is, after takes, he's still got knight here, and how do I defend that pawn? Oh, I don't need to. I still got the tactic to save it. But this pawn is tricky to defend as long as the knight and the bishop are both still on here. Here's the tactic. If he hits the pawn, I can't come to c6 with my king. But I can hit this. And then I'm hitting this pawn. And he has to go back to save it. No, he doesn't. No, he takes b5. Again, the backwards knight moves. Why am I blind to these? And I can't go, I mean, maybe I can. If I, let's see. Okay, well, I guess I can just defend it with king c6. King c7 seems better, because knight d5 comes again and I have to repeat, don't I? King c6, knight d5, sorry, d4. Now king d6. Strange maneuverings here. Knight back to e2. King c7. Okay, like I thought. All right, so king g3. King g3. And then I've got this. Bishop check. King h4. He's just getting his king into the game. And I can grab here. How is this supposed to be? Okay, both his pieces watch over g1. That's pretty key, because now he can afford to take his king this way. No, he can't. What am I missing? Bishop d4, hitting the knight. Okay, just removing the defender, very simply. Oops, that's not a knight. And it also defends that. I've got an extra pawn. They're all on one side, though, and white should be able to hold to a draw. So yeah, tough game to win. Well played by my opponent. Played fast, so I couldn't find a lot of resources as well. Sometimes that's the strategy. Am I winning here at any point? I'm curious. I thought this would be winning. Grabbing this pawn. Knight f1. Okay, it's got me. It likes black here. Such a simple position. The computer's still not sure. g2. Just make those threats. Knight g3. Right. Okay, knight e4. Yeah, knight e4. Oh, I went knight f5. Knight e4 seems to make more sense. That guards this square, so the king can't approach the pawn. He has to maybe do a maneuver like knight back here, and then the king comes over here, but that puts both his pieces out of play. And then I might be able to get knight c3 in, like king c6, and then knight c3, or king to b6 maybe. Knight c3 would pick up a pawn on the queen side, but it went this way. Some shuffling. Okay, yeah, knight e4. Knight e4 would have been better here. Although king g3, and he's still gonna... Doesn't matter too much. Doesn't matter too much. It's just drawn here. So, okay. Can't win them all. At least I didn't lose. And thanks for watching. Stay feisty, folks.